Hello everyone, my name is Alicia and today I'm going to show you how to make this super simple recipe for spaghetti with meat sauce. This recipe comes from my mother-in-law and my husband grew up eating this, so we obviously have incorporated this into one of the main things that we make all the time. And it's super easy and super delicious, and I will show you how this all comes together. So before I get started, I'm going to go ahead and go through all the ingredients with you. I'll show you what you're going to need to make this. First of all, I'll go through the seasonings. You are going to need some ground cumin, some chili powder, some basil, oregano, some sugar, and some salt and pepper. As for the rest of it, you are just going to need 3 cans of, I think it's 6 ounce, yes, 3 cans of 6 ounce tomato paste. And then you're going to need a 28 ounce can of diced tomatoes. Then you are going to need a can of olives, and I've got it's 4.25 ounces, but you can use more if you want. Also, garlic, and I've got just the already minced in a jar garlic, but if you've got fresh, you want to cut it up yourself, even better. But I'm lazy, so I've got the minced already done. Okay, on to the last ingredients. You're going to need 1 medium red onion, and then you're going to need some sliced mushrooms. I've got 8 ounces here. Sometimes I use more, but that's what I've got right now, and that's a pretty good amount. For people that don't like mushrooms, which a lot of people don't, you can just omit it. Another idea for a vegetable to add to this, if you want to get rid of the mushrooms or if you just want to add more veggies to it, would be red and green bell peppers, like either 1 of each or just one green, 1 red. Whatever you want to do, that just adds a little more veggie to it if that's what you're looking to make it a little more healthy. And then the last 2 ingredients are a pound of hamburger. Mine is 96.4, I believe. So it's 4% fat, which is pretty lean. So you can use whatever you want as far as that goes. I just tend to go for the more lean hamburger. And then last is the spaghetti noodles, 16 ounces or a pound of spaghetti noodles. I'm using 100% whole grain. Don't have to do that either. You can just use regular spaghetti if you want. I like the whole grain because it does have a little bit of a different flavor, and it makes me feel like I'm being healthy, even though I'm not. So anyway, those are the ingredients that you're going to need. And the first thing we're going to do is brown our meat. So I will take you over and show you that. Okay, here I have a pretty big sized pot. I'm going to cook the meat in the pot and end up putting pretty much everything in this pot except for the spaghetti noodles, which we will add in here later. But I am starting off with a pot with a little bit of olive oil in here because I'm using such a lean meat. I don't want it to stick to the bottom of this pot. So that's why I've got that in there. Otherwise, if I was using, something like Teflon or whatever, nonstick, I would omit the oil. So we're going to go ahead and put our pounder burger in there. And my pot is on about medium high right now. And we're just gonna break this up. So I'm gonna turn it down just a little bit. Okay, so you want to get your burger nice and broken up so you end up with, fine pieces. You don't want big old chunks in there. So I'm gonna just continue to cook this, and when it's pretty much browned, I will be back. Okay, my meat is starting to get pretty brown now. So at this point, if you were using a hamburger meat that had a higher percentage of fat, what you might want to do is go ahead and try to drain some of that fat off right now. But since I'm using such a lean hamburger, I really don't have much of any fat in there. So I'm going to go ahead and skip that step. So now that we've got our hamburger pretty much browned, I am going to go ahead and add the mushrooms and onions to this. So we're going to just throw the mushrooms in there. And our chopped medium red onion. Okay, now just going to go ahead and let this cook on about medium heat for a few minutes. And you just want to get the onions and the mushrooms semi-soft. The onions a little bit transparent. So go ahead and do that. And by the way, the meat took probably about 5 minutes on medium high heat to get it browned to this point. So I'm going to go ahead and probably cook this for probably about another 5 minutes, but I'll let you know and get it to where I want it, and I will be back. Okay, everyone, it has been about 5-6 minutes, and the onions are starting to get a little bit transparent, and the mushrooms have also softened and shrunk up a little bit. So I'm thinking it's looking good enough to go ahead and start adding the other ingredients. So the next ingredient that I'm going to put in here is going to be some garlic. Again, if you've got fresh garlic, all the better. You probably want to add, with fresh, you probably want to add about a clove or two. I'm going to use the minced, and I'm going to put a couple teaspoons in here of that. So we'll go ahead and do that. And you can use more or less, whatever you prefer. I'm going to mix that around in there real quick. And just let that cook for about a minute or so. And while that's going, I'm going to get my tomato paste over here, which I've got opened up. So with the tomato paste, what you want to do is you're going to put all of these in, and then you're going to fill each can with water to the top and pour that in also. So let me go ahead, just a minute, get a knife. So I'm going to go ahead and put this tomato paste in. I'll be right back. Okay, I've got all 3 cans of tomato paste in there now. And now I'm going to go ahead and fill each can up with water, and I'll show you that real quick. So you just want to fill these up with water and then kind of stir it around a little bit to get that excess tomato paste that's in the can. And then just going to pour that in. And you're going to go ahead and do that with the other 2 cans. Okay, I've filled the other 2 cans with water and poured them in. And now it is time for the diced tomatoes. So again, this is a 28-ounce can of diced tomatoes. And you're just going to pour that in there. And next is the olives. Now I got chopped. I meant to get sliced. So that's what I prefer. But again, whatever you like. If you don't like olives, don't add olives. And the problem with these being minced is they're about impossible to get out of here. So I will be right back. Okay, I have dumped the olives in. Now we're just going to go ahead and give it a quick stir. Mix everything around in here. And this is where using the large pot really comes in handy because it holds a lot. And it's a lot easier to not make messes that way. So, just going to get this all nice and stirred up. And then we will add the spices. Okay, we're all stirred together. And now at this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn it down to a low heat because once we get the spices in here, we're going to just let it simmer. So, go ahead and turn this down. And then we will add our spices. Okay, on to the spices. First, we've got our cumin and our chili powder. And I've got a tablespoon each of these. We're just going to throw those in. Okay, and then next is our basil and oregano. And I did just about a teaspoon of each of those in here. And you can add more or less. It just kind of, depends on your own personal preference. And then we've got salt and pepper. I'm going to go ahead and just put a few cranks of the few cranks of this pepper in there. And that is just, it's just the peppercorns in a grinder. So I'll do a few grinds of that. And then actually, this recipe does call for salt, and that's why I've included it, but I don't normally use salt anymore. So if you're wanting to use salt, it's a teaspoon of salt, but I'm not going to for my own personal use or my own personal preference. So go ahead and put the salt or the pepper in. Okay, so I did about seven cranks on the pepper mill thing, which I don't know how much that adds up to, but if you're just measuring out, probably about half teaspoon or so. So anyway, now that I've got all of the spices in here, I'm going to mix this up. And as you can see, it's starting to bubble a little bit. And I do have that temp turned down to low. So we're going to just mix this up nice and good. Although I do have one more ingredient, I forgot. Gotta add the sugar. So hold on just a second. Okay, last but not least is the sugar. This is a tablespoon of sugar. I believe the purpose of the sugar is to cut down on the acidity of the tomato. But if you didn't want to use sugar, don't have to. I just prefer the way it tastes with this. So sprinkle that in there. Again, tablespoon of sugar. And that is the last ingredient. So now I'm going to mix that in here. And I'm going to let this simmer for a good 20 minutes or so. You can do considerably longer if you want. Seems like the longer you let it simmer, the better it tastes. So, but while this is simmering. I'm just gonna let it sit here, simmer. I am gonna go ahead and cook up my spaghetti noodles. So for that, you're just gonna get a, hold on just a second. Okay, so your spaghetti noodles, you're just gonna use about a medium-sized pot. And you're going to get your water to a boil. So I'm gonna turn that on high right now and get that to boiling, and then when that's boiling I will come back and put the noodles in. Okay, our water is just about to a boil and our sauce is still just simmering away, looking delicious, smelling delicious. So at this point I'm going to go ahead and just put the noodles in. What I like to do is break them in half and they fit in the pot better that way. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I will be right back. Alright, the noodles are in, and as you can see the water is boiling. So the directions on this particular pasta says 9 to 11 minutes to boil. When I'm making spaghetti for this pasta, or for this, when I'm making pasta for this spaghetti, I like to not cook it quite all the way, leave it a little bit al dente, because once you put it in the sauce, it's almost like that softens it up even more. So while the directions say 9 to 11, I'm probably going to do more like 8 minutes on this, and then we will go ahead and put it in the sauce. I wanted to also mention that as you are cooking your spaghetti, you want to occasionally stir it, because otherwise it will kind of just clump together and you'll just have this big clump of spaghetti and not, you know, the nice individual noodles. So anyway, just stir it occasionally. I let the pasta cook for about 8 minutes and I've drained it, and it's just slightly al dente, I would say. So that's about exactly where I wanted it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just take this and I'm going to add it directly to my pot of meat sauce, which has been simmering away over here for about almost exactly 20 minutes. And again, if you want to make this and let it sit there and simmer for, you know, even like a good hour or so, it's totally fine. But since my pasta is already done, I'm going to go ahead and just add it now, and then I will show you the finished product. The noodles have been added and I've mixed it all together real well, and this is your finished product. This is absolutely delicious, and it is great right as it is now, but the best thing about this particular recipe is it tastes even better once it's been sitting in the fridge overnight and all those flavors marinate together. So it is ready now, and I will show you I will show it plated up for you. And here it is all plated up. Again, this is super simple recipe. It took me maybe 30 minutes total in time to make this. So I hope you'll try this super easy recipe, and I hope you'll enjoy it as much as I do. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.